Hi everyone. For today, let's talk about agricultural economics, particularly on the subject of law of demand. Yun yung pag-uusapan natin ngayon. So what is demand, right? When you talk about demand specifically, we are looking at the buyers in the market, yung mga mamimili, yung ating mga household, for example. This demand, or let's say the quantity demanded, the things that they wanted to buy, for example, varies according to how the price of that commodity will change. Now, your law of demand is part of the study of microeconomics, by the way. So dahil micro siya, ang pinag-uusapan natin yung maliliit na unit sa society. And we're looking at how are the buyers behaving on a particular product every time na yung presyo ng produkto na to, every time na yung presyo ng produkto na to ay tumataas or bumababa. Kapag ba tumaas ang presyo, dumadami ba yung gusto nilang bilhin with regard dumadami ba yung gusto nilang bilhin na produkto na yon or umuonte? Yun yung tinatanong natin sa law of demand. And according to the law of demand, price and quantity demanded has an inverse relationship. And what do I mean by price and quantity demanded having an inverse relationship? Ibig sabihin yan, kapag ang presyo mo, ang presyo ng commodity ay tumataas, yung quantity, yung bilang na gustong bilhin ng mga buyers ay bumababa. And vice versa. So, ibig sabihin, kapag ang presyo ay bumaba, ang demand naman na gustong bilhan ng mga buyers ay tumataas. So that is what the law of demand is teaching us. There's an inverse relationship between the price and quantity demanded. When price increases, quantity demanded decreases, and when price decreases, quantity demanded increases. We can see this relationship via the use of what we call as demand schedule. For example, dito makikita natin yung demand schedule of carrots. And what do we mean by schedule? When we say schedule, this is just a tabular representation of your data. And if we can see, if we notice in this schedule, when it comes to the quantity demand of carrots, kapag ang presyo ng carrots ay bumababa from 100 going to 20, what is happening to the quantity demanded? The quantity demanded is increasing. Look at this. Kapag ang presyo ay 100 pesos per kilo, ang quantity demand lang, ang quantity lang na gustong bilhin ng mga buyers mo is 5 kilos. Kapag naman 80 pesos per kilo, tumataas yung quantity demand, 6 pesos na. And if the market offers 20 pesos per kilo, 9 kilos yung gugustuhin nilang bilhin, yung kanilang quantity demanded. So kung pabalik rin natin to, you will notice that as the price of the commodity will increase, the quantity demanded will decrease. Balik rin natin. From 20 pesos, 9 ang quantity demanded, pero kapag naging 100 pesos niyan, papansin natin, umunti na yung kanyang quantity demanded at 5 kilos already. If we're going to get this line and graph it, let's say price is on the y-axis and quantity demanded on the x-axis, ganito yung plot of line na makukuha natin. If you can see, the shape of your demand curve is sloping downward. So your demand curve is sloping downward. Siya po ay pababa. Bakit sloping downward? Kasi habang ang presyo ay bumababa, ang quantity demanded ay tumataas and vice versa. Kapag ang presyo ay tumataas, ang quantity demanded mo ay bumababa. That is why, when it comes to constructing our demand curve, we can see that the demand curve is sloping downward. Now, your quantity demand, or your demand function, I should say, has the following formula. The formula for your quantity demanded is QD is equal to A minus BP. Ano ibig sabihin ng QD? Yung QD mo, yan po yung ating quantity demanded. The amount of goods that buyers are willing and able to purchase at a specific price. What is P here? Your P here is your price, the price of the good or the service. Your A, this one, is the constant. Yan po yung bilang ng quantity demanded. So this is the quantity demand kapag ang presyo ng ating commodity ay zero. Right? This is also called as your intercept. So kapag pala ang presyo ng commodity mo ay zero, A is not necessarily infinite. Kasi baka iniisip natin kapag zero yung presyo ng isang bilihin, infinite or walang katapusan yung quantity demand sa produkto na yon. Well, accordingly, sa law of demand, and if we graph this demand function, may limit pa rin siya. Mataas nga lang yung number kasi nga ang presyo ay zero. Mataas talaga ang magiging A mo. And it depends to the slope of the line. What is B then? P here is the slope of the line. This now pertains to the elasticity of your demand curve kapag titignan natin yung graph. Or basically it means gaano karami yung quantity demand change every time na nagbabago yung presyo. Yun yung ating P. So I want you to remember this demand function. And the demand function has the following format. QD is equal to A minus BP. And if you notice, bakit kaya minus yung ginamit dito sa gitna? The minus sign actually indicates the negative or inverse relationship of your quantity demand and price. Dahil inverse ang relationship ni quantity demand at price, minus sign yung ginagamit nito natin sa gitna to depict that. In fact, ang isang ibig sabihin, ang another term for inverse relationship is we also call it as negative relationship. So kapag kayo ay nakabasa ng negative relationship, ang ibig lang sabihin nun, baliktaran yung effect or inverse yung effect. Kapag tumaas ang isang variable, bababa yung another variable. Kapag bumaba yung another variable, tataas yung another variable. So, when you say inverse, halintulad din yan sa salitang negative relationship. So, synonymous yung dalawang yan. Now, in order for us to understand this demand function better, let's look at the graph. Again, ang demand function natin is QD is equal to A minus BP. Yung minus sign na nasa gitna, that indicates the sloping downwardness of your demand curve. Dahil inverse ang relationship ni quantity demand at ni price, downward sloping yung demand curve natin. Our demand curve is downward sloping. And that is depicted by the sign here, yung nasa gitna, yung minus sign. In fact, kung titignan natin sa law of supply, which I will not be discussing today, ang law of supply has the supply function of positive sign here, primarily because there is a direct or positive relationship between your quantity supplied and price. What is your quantity demand here? Your quantity demand varies accordingly habang nagbabago yung presyo. So yung mga points na yan, right? Or any point in your demand curve, any point in the blue line would represent now your quantity demand. Your A is the quantity demand when price is zero. So if we're going to extend this line, for example, i-extend natin yung linya na yan para ma-touch niya yung ating x-axis. Kapag na-touch niya yung x-axis, yun yung point na zero ang price. So at this particular quantity, for example, here, when price is zero, yun na yung magiging A natin. Yan yung tinatawag din nating constant. How about B? B, basically, is the slope of the line. And when we say slope, we are looking at how steep, gaano katarik, or gaano kapatag, steep or flat, yung ating demand curve. Now here, it's not steep and it's not flat, but rather it's in a 45 degree 45 degree slope itong ating demand curve. I would say na ang slope ng demand curve na to would be equivalent to 1. And in terms of elasticity, yan po ay magiging unitary. Anyways, let's not talk about elasticity. Let's talk about the law of demand. So babalik tayo dito. Later on, pag-uusapan natin yung elasticity on a different lecture. So doon na de-derive, basically, yung mga variables dito sa demand function mo, kapag i-compare natin sa ating graphical representation of demand, this is the derivation. Your quantity demanded would be any point in your demand curve. Your A is your constant. Kapag in-extend mo yung line na yon, up until it hits the x-axis, that would be your A. The B now will represent the slope of your line. Madalas, ang mga exercises na ibibigay sa inyo ng inyong mga teachers, ng inyong mga professors or assessment is that they will usually provide you with the demand function already. And ang gagawin nyo lang is basically to substitute some of the numbers in your demand function. So for example, in this table, we need to fill in those slots that are blank using the demand equation na QD is equal to 800 minus 10P. So unahin natin sa point A. Sa point A, hinahanap natin yung quantity demanded. So since provided ang price, isa-substitute lang natin directly itong 10 na to dun sa price na nasa taas. So that is to say, QD is equal to 800 minus 10, and the price is 10. 10 plus 10 times 10 is 100. So we have 800 minus 100. You get now a quantity demand in point A na 700. So that is now the answer for your point A. Kapag ang presyo ay 10 pesos, the quantity demanded is 700 units. We now move to point B. Now sa point B, medyo tricky siya because what is provided sa point B is quantity demand, and we now need to find the price kapag ang quantity demand natin ay 600. So for this specific instance, gagamit tayo ng konting algebra to solve this problem. So we get this 600 here, and we substitute it now to our quantity demand there. So we get 600 is equal now to 800 minus 10P. Now, in order for us to extract out the P, kailangan ipag-combine natin yung similar terms. So, yung 800 dito at 600 dito sa kabila, parehas yung terms na yan, ililipat natin sa 800 po dito. Now, by the rule of algebra, kapag inilipat mo si 800 sa kabila, mag-iiba yung kanyang sign. Kapag plus ang sign dito sa kabila, magiging minus sign na siya. So 600 minus 800 is equal now to, we will retain the sign here na negative 10P. Now, we can get or we can extract out the price. How? We divide each equation by negative 10. So negative 10 will extract out this, so ang matitira na lang ay P. Right? So price is equivalent to this equation already. So 600 minus 800, 600 minus 800 is negative 200. Negative 200 divided by negative 10, or 200 divided by 10. So that's negative 200. Negative 200 divided by negative 100, divided by negative 10. Yung ang sagot na dyan ay 20 pesos or 20 currency, kung ano man yung currency ng ating price. So since we're in the Philippines, let's say this is 20 pesos. So yun na yung magiging price kapag ang quantity demanded ay 600 units. At point C, direct substitution lang ulit ang gagawin natin. We get the 25 here and we substitute it to the P there. Now, that would be 800 minus 10 multiplied by the price na 25. 10 times 25 is how much? That's 250. So 800 minus 250, ang sagot po ay 550. Yan na ngayon, yung magiging quantity demand natin here, 550. So kapag ang presyo ay 25 pesos, let's say, buyers are willing and able to purchase a quantity of 550 units. As we can see, habang yung price ay tumataas, 10, 20 going to 25, ang quantity demanded ay bumababa. 700, 600, and 550. Therefore, we are correct. Tama yung na-solve nating numbers to determine the price and quantity demanded at specific points A, B, and C. In the discussion of the law of demand, we also need, as students of economics, we also need to differentiate between these two. Change in quantity demanded and the change in demand. Change in quantity demanded, yan yung common na nangyayari sa ating law of demand. Yung nating na-discuss lang kanina. Kapag sinabi natin that there is a change in quantity demanded, there is only a movement along the demand curve. So nagmo-move lang yung points doon sa ating iisang demand curve. We call that as change in quantity demand. And ano yung nagko-cause ng movement na yan? Change in quantity demand is caused only by this particular factor. It is only caused by price. Kapag tumataas ang price, ang quantity demanded mo ay bumababa. That is why your demand curve is sloping downward. Kapag naman ang presyo ay bumababa, ang quantity demand mo ay tumataas. So that is what we mean by change in quantity demand. So huwag kayong malito kapag nakita nyo yung statement niya yan. We're just merely talking at a movement along the demand curve and it is only caused by one particular factor, and that factor is your price. How about when we say that there is a change in demand? Kapag sinabi na natin there is a change in demand, there is now a movement or a shift of your entire demand curve. So if we can see here, yung demand curve 1 natin nag-move to demand curve 2. So there's an actual movement of the demand curve itself. There's a shift. Whether that shift happens to the left or to the right, that is change in demand. By the way, kapag ang demand curve mo ay nag-shift sa right, ibig sabihin, gumalaw siya papunta dito. So when your demand curve shifts to the right, then that is increase in demand. Whereas if your demand curve shifted to the left, here, then there is a decrease in demand. So yun yung rule when it comes to the shifting. When the demand curve shifts to the right, that is increase in demand. When it shifts to the left, then that is decrease in demand. Kung sa change in quantity demanded mo, ang main variable that affects the movement along the demand curve is your price, ano kaya sa tingin nyo ang nagkukos ng movement sa inyong change in demand? Apparently, the change in demand is caused by factors that we name or we call as non-price determinants. And yun yung mga pag-uusapan natin on the next slides. Ano ba yung mga non-price determinants that affects the shift in our entire demand curve? Unahin natin yung ating price of related goods. Now, how does the price of related goods affect the demand of our commodity? Such as, for example, how is the price of substitute and complementary goods affect yung demand ng ating produkto? Kapag sinabi nating substitute good, yan yung mga produkto na pwedeng kapalit ng ating produkto. That's substitute goods. So for example, if you are selling, for example, kapag gusto natin, not selling particularly, kapag gusto natin bumili ng Milo, pero pumunta ka sa store at walang Milo, pero merong Energen, right? Or Ovaltine, Milo and Ovaltine is a substitute goods. Kasi kapag walang Milo, you can still satisfy that need or want by buying Ovaltine. So yung mga produkto na pwede mong pagpalitin, kumbaga, that we call that as substitute goods. Pumunta ka sa coffee shop, for example, wala yung paborito mong caramel macchiato. Well, nandyan yung latte. May maglalatay ka na lang. Both of them are coffee. They are substitute goods. They are substituting one another. Another related good would be your complementary good. Yan naman yung mga produkto na binibili natin halos magkasama. For example, kakatapos lang ng klase mo, gusto mong mag-snack, so pumunta ka sa kantin. Gusto mong bumili ng, let's say, a piece of bread, and then a piece of beverage. Right? To give you the same sense of satisfaction. So both of them are complementary goods. Tinapay, let's say, tapos bumili ka ng Milo or a particular hot drink. These are complementary goods. Kape and asukal, for example. Bihira lang yung mga tao na pure coffee ang kanilang kinakape. Madalas, gusto natin, may asukal yan, may tamis. So these are complementary goods. Automobile, sasakyan, and gasolina, these are also complementary goods. Kasi kapag ikaw ay bumili ng auto, you are expected na bibili ka rin ng gasolina para umundar yung auto mo. Or the other way around, hindi ka bibili ng gasolina kung wala kang auto na gagamit ng gasolina na yon in order to transport you. So the question here is, how does the price of your substitute and complementary good changes the demand of their particular good? Yun yung titignan natin. So I would explain it sa inyo via our example. Sa simula, yung substitute goods muna. So let's just say na ang substitute good natin is Milo and Ovaltine. And we are looking at the demand for Ovaltine. So tinitignan natin, ano yung mangyayari sa demand ni Ovaltine kapag ang presyo ni Milo ay nagbago. So for example, kapag ang presyo ni Milo ay tumaas, ano ang mangyayari sa demand ni Milo? Okay? Kapag ang presyo ni Milo ay tumaas, ang mangyayari sa demand ni Milo, dahil tumaas ang presyo ni Milo, babagsak ang kanyang demand, right? Because of the law of demand. So dahil yung mga buyers mo ayaw na nilang bumili ng Milo, lilipat ngayon yan sa Ovaltine. So ano ang mangyayari sa demand ng iyong Ovaltine? Nakita nila, naku, mahal ang Milo. Lipat tayo sa Ovaltine. So ang demand ng Ovaltine is tataas. So yun yung relationship when it comes to substitute goods. Kapag tumaas ang presyo ng ating substitute goods, ang demand ng ating good ay tataas rin. So there is a direct relationship. Increase on the one end, increase here will cause an increase in the price of Milo will cause an increase in the demand for Ovaltine. Nabalik na rin natin yung situation. Ang presyo ng Milo ay bumaba. Ano ang mangyayari sa demand ng Milo? Kapag ang presyo ng Milo ay bumaba, ang demand ng Milo tataas. Sasabihin ng mga buyers, aba, murang-mura ang Milo. Bibili ako ng mas maraming Milo. And because buyers will buy more Milo, ano ang mangyayari sa demand ng iyong Ovaltine? Dahil Milo ang pipiliin nila, yung demand ng Ovaltine mo babagsak. So if there's a decrease in the price of Milo, the demand for Ovaltine will go down. Yan yung effect ng price of substitute goods to our demand. It is direct. When the price of Milo increases, the demand for Ovaltine increases as well. So when the price of your substitute good increases, the demand of your good will also increase and vice versa. Ano naman ang effect kapag complementary goods? Yung mga goods na binibili nating magkasama. Let's say, ang complementary goods natin would be kape at asukal. So what will happen to the demand of coffee? So anong mangyari sa demand ng kape kapag ang presyo ng ating sugar ay nagbago? Okay? Now, let's talk about the price of sugar. Ang presyo ng sugar tumaas. Ang presyo ng sugar tumaas. Ano kaya ang mangyayari sa demand ng sugar? Now, according to the law of demand, kapag tumaas ang presyo ng sugar, ang demand ng sugar ay natural, bababa. So ang tanong, kapag bumaba yung quantity ng sugar na binibili ng mga buyers, nagme-make sense ba na bibili sila ng mas maraming kape? Right? Kung ang sugar at coffee ay binibiling magkasama at tumaas ang presyo ng sugar, therefore bumaba ang quantity na gusto nilang bilhin sa sugar, nagme-make sense ba na tataas ang demand nila sa coffee? Hindi, di ba? Why? Because they are buying less sugar. So if your buyers are buying less sugar, syempre yung partner niya, yung kanyang complementary good, yung demand nun, bababa rin. Dahil konti lang yung binili nilang asukal, syempre yung partner niya, konting quantity lang din ang bibilhin nila. Kaya pagdating sa complementary good, right? When the price of the complementary good increases, the demand for your good will decrease. And vice versa. For example, ang presyo ng sugar, bumaba. Ano ang mangyayari sa demand ng sugar? Ang demand ng sugar, dahil bumaba ang presyo, ang demand po ay tataas. Diba? Tataas ang ating demand. So kapag ang mga buyers mo bibili ng mas maraming asukal, therefore kailangan nila ng mas maraming kape rin. Kasi nga, partner goods yung dalawang yan. So bibili rin sila ng mas maraming kape. So if we can see, when the price of the sugar decreases, bumaba, ang demand ng iyong kape ay tataas naman. So when it comes to complementary goods, baliktaran or inverse ang relationship. When the price of the complementary good increases, the demand for a particular good if the price of the complementary good increases, the demand of your good will decrease and vice versa. So yun yung dynamics ng price of related goods, particularly substitute and complementary goods, and yun yung effect niya sa demand ng ating commodity. So in summary, when it comes to the price of related goods, kapag substitute goods yan, direct ang relationship nila. Now, we're speaking here about demand, okay? Kasi sa supply, iba yung relationship. Demand lang po yung ating pinag-uusapan dito. So, when the price of your substitute good increases or decreases, there is a direct effect to the price of, to the demand of that particular commodity. So, direct. Parehas ang direksyon. Kapag tumaas ang presyo ng substitute good, tataas din ang demand. Kapag bumaba ang presyo ng substitute good, bababa rin po ang demand. How about complementary goods? Kapag complementary goods, inverse naman ang relationship. Kapag tumaas ang presyo ng complementary goods, ang demand ng good natin ay bababa. At kapag bumaba ang presyo ng complementary goods, ang demand ng good natin ay tataas. So that is the first determinant of demand, price of related goods. Ano pang ibang determinant of demands that we have? We also have change in expected future price. Paano nagbabago yung demand natin ngayon, so current demand, kapag ang mga buyers nag-e-expect ng pagbabago ng presyo in the future? So for example, ine-expect ng mga buyers mo na ang presyo in the future ay tataas. Tataas ang presyo in the future. Anong gagawin ng mga buyers mo? Para makatipid, Bibili sila ng marami ngayon. So if they are expecting that prices in the future will go up, the demand in the present, yung demand sa kasalukuyang panahon ay tataas rin. How about if they are expecting that prices in the future will go down? The demand sa kasalukuyan or the demand in the present will also go down. Why? Kasi ang gagawin ng mga buyers mo, hihintayin nila yung future para doon sila bibili. That explains why gustong-gusto natin yung mga promo na pinoprovide ni Lazada, ni Shopee, na 11, 22, 33, etc. Right? Madalas kapag bibili tayo online, hinihintay natin yung mga promo na yan bago tayo bumili. And that particular situation is depicted by this law of expected future price. When we are expecting that the price of the commodity will decrease in the future, bababa yung demand natin ngayon kasi hihintayin natin yung future para bumili. Pero kapag ine-expect natin na magmamahal yung produkto in the future, ngayon pa lang, bibili na tayo ng saksakan ng dami. Another determinant of demand would be your population and the preference of that particular population. Natural. Kapag dumami ang tao, for some reason, sa isang merkado, ang demand niya, dadami rin, tataas rin ang kanyang demand. Kasi dumami yung population sa lugar na yon. Kapag umunti yung population sa lugar na yon, natural, uunti rin yung demand ng mga commodity sa lugar na yon. So direct ang relationship ng population sa demand natin. Now, when it comes to preference, ang preference ay naapektuhan yan ng mga several factors katulad ng advertisement. And ang relationship is mostly direct. Kapag, for example, si Coco Martin sinabi niya na kapag kayo ay gumamit ng isang particular shampoo brand, magiging kamukha niyo ako. And dahil idol niyo si Coco Martin at in-endorse niya yung particular shampoo brand, magkakaroon ng shift preference towards that shampoo. Kasi nga in-endorse ng idolo natin or idolo niyo. Anyways, kapag sinabi naman ni Coco Martin na, ay, wag niyo palang gamitin yan, then magkakaroon ng negative shift against that particular commodity. So, ang preference natin is mostly affected by that advertisement. It can also be affected by seasons or trends. Pag may uso, yan. Kapag may uso, madalas tumataas ang demand natin dyan. At kapag nalaos yung produkto na yon, bumababa yung ating demand. What are some other determinants of demand pa? We have changes in income. Now, generally, kapag ang income natin tumataas, ang demand natin tumataas rin. Generally. Right? Kasi yumayaman ka. Kapag yumayaman ka, mas marami ka ng pera ngayon na panggastos, kaya kapag tumaas ang income, tataas rin yung demand mo. Kapag bumaba ang income, for some reason, ikaw ay na-demote, nawalan ng trabaho, so medyo kailangan mong magtipid, then bababa rin yung iyong demand for a specific commodity. However, we can actually see yung effect ng income if we are going to analyze whether the demand of an inferior or normal good will increase. So kapag i-consider na natin yung type of good, whether that be inferior or normal, in relation to the changes of our income, doon na nagbabago itong relationship na to. For example, let's talk about inferior goods. Ang mga inferior goods, yan yung mga commodity na ating binibili kapag tayo ay K. Ano ibig sabihin ng K? Kapag tayo ay kapos. Wala masyadong pera. Walang trabaho. Walang source of income. Or let's say nagkasakit ka at nasagad yung savings mo. So kapag ikaw ay kapos, madalas inferior goods yung binibili natin. Yung bang mga produkto kung saan tayo ay makakatipid. Hindi ganun mataas ang presyo ng mga produktong to, pero pwede na, magagamit pa rin natin. So ano ang relationship ng income sa pagbili ng inferior goods or sa demand ng inferior goods? Kapag ang income natin ay tumaas, ang demand mo sa inferior good ay bababa. Bakit kaya bababa? Kasi tumaas ang income mo. Marami kang pera. Kapag marami kang pera, wala ka ng rason or wala ka ng reason para bumili ng mga produkto na medyo low standard kasi mura. Okay? By the way, yun din yung konsepto natin sa inferior goods eh. These are products that are cheap because they have more than likely they have lower standard as compared to normal goods. So kapag ikaw ay may extra income, hindi ka magtitipid, hindi ka kapos. So yung demand mo for inferior good, bababa. Pero kapag ikaw ay nawalan ng trabaho, bumaba yung income mo, nawalan ka ng savings, so your income decreases, then the demand for your inferior good will start to go up. Tataas na ngayon. Okay? Kapag wala ka ng income, kailangan mo nang magtipid, so bibili ka na ngayon ng mga produkto na medyo mura, medyo cheap. Hindi ganun kaganda yung quality, pero dahil kailangan mong magtipid at kailangan mo nung commodity na yon, tataas na ngayon yung demand mo for that commodity. So when the demand decreases, when your income decreases, bumaba, ang demand mo for inferior good, tataas. So we can see that there is actually an inverse relationship here. On the other hand, we also have what we call as normal goods. And ito naman yung mga produkto na binibili natin kapag tayo ay LL or nakakaluwag-luwag. Right? Kapag mas may pera na i-promote ka sa trabaho, for example, so dagdag income, nagkaroon ka ng extra job, nanalo ka sa loto or nanalo ka sa any game show and dagdag income yon. So, yung mga produkto na madalas mataas ang kalidad at medyo mahal, yan yung ating normal goods na tinatawag. So, anong relationship niyan? Siyempre, kapag ang income mo tumaas, ang demand mo for normal goods ay tataas rin. Right? It just makes sense. Mas marami kang pera, nakakaluwag-luwag ka. Therefore, ang pipiliin mong bilhin ay yung mga produktong medyo mamahalin, medyo maganda yung quality. So, tataas ang demand mo for normal goods. However, kapag ang income level mo bababa, let's say, so income now goes down, then the demand for normal good will also go down. Kasi kapag bumaba ang income, natural, wala ka na masyadong income, ang bibilhin mo, hindi na normal goods. Ang bibilhin mo, inferior goods na. So mag-shift yung preference mo from normal goods going to inferior goods, kaya ang demand ng normal good ay bababa. And if we can see here, there is a direct relationship between income and normal good. So let's try to combine the two and analyze this together. Kapag ikaw ay kapag ikaw ay kumita ng malaki, so magsimula tayo sa premise na ito, kapag ikaw, as a consumer, kumita, ikaw ay na-promote, right? Ikaw ay nagkaroon ng extra income, ang demand mo for normal good ay, sabi natin, tataas. So kapag ang bibilhin mo, puro normal good, puro mga mamahaling mga produkto, yung demand mo for inferior goods naman, syempre, bababa. Kasi nga, ang bibilhin mo, normal good. But, when the time comes na ikaw ay nagkaroon ng pagbaba ng income for some reason, nawalan ka ng trabaho or there's some emergency na nangyari sa buhay mo, medyo nasagad yung pera na hawak mo. So, bumaba ang income. Hindi ka nabibili ng normal goods. Kaya ang demand mo for normal goods, bababa. Kung hindi ka bibili ng normal goods pero kailangan mo pa rin bumili para mabuhay, ano nang bibilhin mo? Ang bibilhin mo na, inferior goods. Kaya ang demand mo for inferior goods ay tataas. So that is how we'd like to think about inferior and normal goods in relation to income. In summary, kapag normal goods yan, and we're talking about the effect of income to normal goods, direct po ang relationship. If income increases, then the demand for normal goods increases as well, and vice versa. So kapag tumaas ang income, ang demand for normal goods ay tataas rin. Kapag bumaba ang income, ang demand for normal goods ay bababa rin. Ang inferior goods naman, inverse ang relationship niya sa income. Kapag ang income bumaba, ang demand for inferior goods ay tataas. And kapag ang income natin ay tumaas, ang demand for inferior goods ay bababa naman. So that is just a brief discussion on the law of demand and the different determinants of change in demand. I hope you had a great day and I hope you've learned something valuable today. Thank you so much everyone. God bless sa inyong pag-aaral.